Welcome to Just Say This, the place to get all the help you need for the birds and bees talks. I'm your host, Amy Lang. Just a quick reminder, this show is for grown-ups because I'll be swearing. There'll be lots of swears, and then I'll also be talking about grown-up sex. I can guarantee that your kids do not want to listen to this, and they really don't want to listen to it with you. You've been warned. Do you have a question for me? Please give me a call. The phone number is 206-926-1522, 206-926-1522, and I will answer on the show. And if you have a funny sex talk story, please call in those as well, 206-926-1522. Thanks. Hello. Since I just did an entire episode about people with penises, I thought I'd do one about people with vulvas. This is entirely vulva-centric. Okay, girl-centric, whatever. You know what I mean. Anyway, a bunch of questions. It's a hodgepodge. Let's just do it, shall we? One thing, I'm reading these off of printed out papers, so if you hear some rattling around or shuffling, that's me, shuffling and rattling around paper. All right, here we go. Hi. I don't know if this is on topic enough to ask, but I have a sensitive puberty/hygiene question that I was hoping someone might be able to help with. I try to be as body positive and autonomy affirming as possible about body, hair choices, keep it, shave it, whatever, it's your body and therefore your choice, with my 11-year-old daughter. But I'm having a really hard time with the underarm body odor issue that she swears she doesn't and genuinely seems not to notice in the slightest, even though it sometimes gets nauseatingly bad. Like sincerely causing an entire occupied room to smell bad when this occurs, and I'm not the only one it bothers. She's been shaving her armpits, but only off and on. It's not consistent. Here's my conundrum. She showers every other day and wears deodorant, but the only thing that seems to help control her underarm odor is shaving her armpits, in addition to showering and deodorant. It's a frequent problem I try hard not to harp on, but several times it's actually gotten so bad that I've had to outright call it out, explain that the smell was overwhelmingly bothersome, and pleadingly insist that she go shave, rewash out her armpits, reapply deodorant, and change into a different clean shirt. The smell issue is problematic, but I don't want to give her a complex or take away her ability to make her own body choices, and I truly worry about her eventually getting picked on by kids at school for smelling bad too. Any thoughts? Ideas? Help? Oh boy, this is a tough one and really stinky. I can just imagine the smell of her pits. I think we've all been there at some point in our lives where it just stinks, and maybe that was you or your own, somebody else Anyway, we've all been there. I would be really concerned about other kids. They are going to have a heyday with her because, as we all recall, people who are 11 are generally speaking not kind. That's not fair. A lot of them are kind, but this is the kind of thing that really, like you said, can be hard on her, and they can be mean and all of that stuff. If you have not said that to her really clearly and directly, you need to be serious and calm about it. This is one of the things that peer pressure may help her make different decisions about bathing and her armpits and all that stuff. The other thing that springs to my mind is that she might have some kind of endocrine disorder that is making her stinkier than average. And so a trek to the doctor would probably be a really good idea. Honestly, it sounds like she has boy level of stinkiness. Boys tend to be more stinky than girls, so that might be another thing to consider. I do not want to freak you out, but since we know that about 2% of the population is intersex, that might be happening. So yeah, trip to the doctor for sure. A few other things. I know you feel like you're on repeat, and it may be now that she's tuning you out. And also, because she's in adolescence, remember, her brain is not working like a regular grown-up brain or even a kid who's not in puberty brain. When you talk with her, be really careful when you're talking with her. She's lucid, she's calm, she's receptive, maybe at bedtime, maybe while you're washing the dishes, maybe while you're walking home from school, if that's a thing you can do. Find a time when she is clearly calm and engaged, and then I would talk with her about this. I think she probably is in a space where she just doesn't get it, and doesn't care, which yay, bodily autonomy, etc. But again, this is I feel like it's a safety issue because of people being mean. Try that. And when you talk with her, be really, really simple and clear about it. And also, she's getting a lot of attention from you when you have your you smell and freak out. You probably are using a lot of words. You know me, I use a lot of words. You're probably using a lot of words. So minimize the words. If she's in the room and she's smelly, then you need to say, "You stink. Please go do something about it." Or if you're going to be going somewhere, for whatever reason, maybe she can't go. I'm trying to think of a natural consequence for her not taking care of her body. I have a side note here, just a second. So maybe some kind of natural consequence that if she doesn't take care of her body and take care of her smell, then she can't do something. The consequence needs to be connected to something else and not interrupt your family life. Anyway, my side note there is if this is some kind of disorder that is not something she can help, then different story there, right? But if you know for a fact that if she shaves her armpits and she uses deodorant and she wears clean clothes, that she's not stinky, regardless of the issue, that needs to be what's happening. I would have a code word with her. Instead of saying, "You smell, please go blah and blah and blah," develop a code word. Maybe it's pineapple. She comes in the room, she smells, you say, "Pineapple." She's made an agreement that if you say pineapple, then she'll go take care of business. So yeah, definitely doctor, really clear that she's going to get teased and that's going to be really hard. Find that lucid moment to talk to her. Economy of words, be kind, and then pineapple. Okay, here's our next one. "Hi, Amy. I have an 11-year-old who for over 10 years identified as she, her. She recently started an all-girls middle school in Seattle, and there are lots of gender conversations with peers and teachers. A month into middle school, she identified as she, they, and I recently learned that my 11-year-old identifies as they, them. I am thrilled that they get to be who they identify as, but full disclosure, I'm an older mom and grew up with a very binary lens. How do I learn more about this? Am I really looking to move past the binary lens because I've been looking through it so I can support my 11-year-old, but also catch up with the times I'm living in? Any suggestions?" Of course, I have suggestions. And this is something that's happening, and I just had a conversation with a couple of women from Columbia University who have written a new book for girls about puberty and periods. And it's available. I can't remember the name of it. It's in the show notes. It's really terrific because it's well researched. They went into communities of girls of color and communities of girls who were less affluent and talked with them about their concerns about puberty, what they wished they had known. They were talking to older girls, so they'd already been there, done that. Asked them a bunch of questions, asked them what was concerning to them, and not a one of them said gender. Gender did not come up. I thought it was really interesting that for those girls and those communities that this was not really up for them. And I don't know if they asked them about it. I think the conversation was pretty natural based on what we talked about when they talked to me about their cool ass book. Anyway, all that to say, this seems to be something that's happening in more liberal cities, amongst more wealthy communities and families. Your girls' middle school, this is happening 100%, super duper duper common. And good, it's a good thing because the gender binary has gotten us nowhere, and I think it's caused us a ton of trouble. And the reason I'm pointing out these differences in these communities of girls about the gender thing is that I think this is an example, and I know I've said this before, it's a delightful expansion of this time in adolescence when they get to explore who they are in a bigger way. They get to try on different things. And in this case, your daughter is trying on a different gender. Now, that doesn't mean she's not the different gender. It does not mean that at all. It means that she's exploring this. It may be that she has always felt that she does not identify as a girl, and because she was put in that box, that's what she's been doing. It may also be that she's just rolling with her peer group and fitting in and test driving a different gender. The thing about gender is that we can't know. Our gender is fundamental to who we are. When someone has an awakening that there is a different way to be that resonates with them, that's awesome. But with young people, maybe it's a test drive, right? So the problem with LGBTQ issues, or the thing about it's not a problem, is that because we can't tell by looking, because it's a process, and because it's intrinsic to who someone is, you 100% have to back them. You have to believe them. You have to roll with them. I would ask her questions like, what does this mean to you? What are your friends thinking? What do you want me to know? How can I support you? And you're asking for help, right? I'm so thrilled to be able to offer you some help. Granted, again, it might not be perfect, but to me, this phenomenon of these groups of girls changing gender is that statistically, it just does not work for me. But again, got to accept them for who they are, hold it lightly, believe them, because you just can't really know until they settle down and settle into whatever their gender is. Again, that's just my opinion. I think that as this is happening, we're going to get more and more data and information, and we'll have a really clear picture probably in another 5 years of what is going on and how girls' gender is settling out. Anyway, again, I think it's super cool. I think it's so important that people in general be given an opportunity to explore who they are more expansively. All right, resources. pflag.org, Parents and Friends of Gays and Lesbians and Gays, tons of information there. Gender Spectrum is another website where there's tons of help. If you just Google help for parents of trans kids, there's tons and tons of information, and they'll help you manage yourself in this. It's hard for lots of us to expand our experience of gender and sexuality. Another kick-ass resource is my little favorite pal, the Gender Unicorn. Links are in the show notes, so you can go check all this stuff out. I'll get some more specific websites. Sorry, I'm a little flaky about that. Hang in there, talk with her. What does this mean to her? Roll with it. If she gets pissy because you forget to use the right pronouns, just roll along. It'll be fine. Here's the deal. Your time with me right now is just not enough to give you everything you need to become their go-to sex talk expert. And these conversations aren't really about you. It's about your kids and making sure they are prepared for this ginormous part of life. I have help for you. I've talked about it before. It's my Birds and Bees Solution Center. If you go to birdsandbeescourse.com, you can check it out and get all the details. It is an online treasure trove of about 95% of what you need to be their go-to source. It's all in one place. You don't have to Google around. One of the things that's unique to it is that it includes a monthly live chat with me. You can ask me questions. I usually teach for about 10 or 15 minutes on one specific topic, like pleasure. And then we have unrecorded Q&A after that. A few more things. There are videos on porn, more than one, porn prevention, about porn, how it's impacting kids, gender, puberty, talking to boys, talking to girls, online safety. One of the things that parents tell me they like the most is an age-specific video. It tells you what they need to know at each age and stage so that you can get caught up or plan for the future so you're ready when they come to you with a, doozy of a question. You'll expect it. I have also included a chapter from my book, Sex Talks with Tweens, on pleasure. The entire chapter is there. This seems to be something that people really struggle with. I want this to be as accessible as possible, so it's super cheap. It's $69 a year, which makes it 19 cents a day. It's kind of a no-brainer. But wait, there's more. If you use the code JST, like just say this, you'll get 15% off. And again, this is not really about you. Do you want your kids to do better than you did? Feel better about who they are as a sexual person? Make better decisions? This will get you there. Anyway, go check it out, birdsandbeescourse.com. And of course, the link is in the show notes. I'm just loving these questions. They're so great. The last one for this episode. My daughter is going through usual preteen issues, not sure about her body. She has doubts about her look, sometimes very low self-esteem, criticizing and not being easy on herself. And this is in all caps, always requiring my reassurance. This is a very tiring process for me, always speaking on the same topic like a broken record. Always have to reassure her about her appearance and to be kind to herself and explain values and what is important in life. But it is a bit of a sick cycle. We have to have this conversation on a regular basis because she is not happy with her own skin. For some reason, I feel responsible as well, even though I like to raise an independent and happy and strong teenage girl, but for some reasons, we are not there yet, and she's not displaying such values. I am worried she can be influenced and fooled by others easily and draw attention with signs of, I am weak and easy to be influenced. What can I do to help her? This is driving me crazy. Oh, this is so hard. It is so hard to see your kiddo suffering because she doesn't feel good in her skin. She's so worried about how she looks, and I imagine it's a whole lot about how she looks, her body, her clothes, all of that. And it's also such a core part of adolescence. It's so good that she has you. I completely understand how annoying it is to have to reassure her constantly. So I think you're right. A little something else needs to happen to help her manage herself and help you manage yourself. I can just imagine how annoying it is to be constantly saying the same things over and over to reassure her, and it's not working. How many times can you say, you're beautiful, you're wonderful, what's inside counts more than what's on the outside? That doesn't resonate with most adolescents because of our stupid fucking culture, especially when it comes to girls and their peers and the influence of social media and, of course, porn, because that's a trickle-down thing. It's not surprising to me that she is having a really hard time hearing you. The other reason she's probably having a hard time hearing you is because you sound like a broken record. This is parenting land, right? We all sound like a broken record because they won't pick up the fucking cereal bowl or they won't whatever. And in this particular instance, because this is about her heart, her soul, her self-esteem, I'm going to suggest that you approach her in a different manner. First of all, you just heard me talk about lucid. Got to find a time she is lucid. And then rather, when she comes to you and she's like, reassure me, reassure me, reassure me, I would ask her something along the lines of, tell me what that looks like. What do you need from me? What do you want? You might just ask that question and then shut up and see what she does with it. She may not know what she wants. You could also ask her things like, what do your friends think? What are your friends saying to you? Who do you like? When you look at somebody, which one of your friends do you like the most? And I know this is all superficial, but this is all superficial. It's always superficial. We all worry about how we look. We all worry about how we're accepted. One thing that might be helpful to her is if she perhaps emulate that person in some way. So maybe she gets a pair of similar leggings or a similar top, not the same, because that is a bad way to go. So she feels better in terms of the clothing she's wearing and that kind of thing. And with self-esteem issues, this sounds deeper than just how she's showing up in the world. But the fact that she needs all this reassurance from you also tells me that she's not being heard by you. You're in fix it mode. Maybe what she needs is more of a let's collaborate on this mode. Also, she might need some therapy. I think if you change how you talk to her and you talk with her instead, that will help, I bet, a ton. Telling her that you remember feeling the same way. Because right now what you're doing is you're basically saying to her, get over yourself, which again, I totally understand. When you're on repeat as a parent, it is just crazy making. But our kids aren't responsible for our communication style. That's on you. So find a way to talk with her about this. Like she's your friend. That's a great tactic to take. Would you say to your friend, you're fine, you look great. Come on, you look great. Da, 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 da. You might, and an adult can handle that. But generally speaking, we don't, well, I of course tell my friends what to do, but we don't tell our friends what to do. We listen to them. So ask some different questions. I'm going to give you homework. Write down some different ways you can address this with her. And again, you need to wait till she's lucid. And again, when she comes to you, in the next 15 minutes and needs a ton of reassurance, you could say to her, what do you need me to say to you? What would be helpful? And see what she does with that. She'll probably say, I don't know. You could also ask her to take a big deep breath. Like, hey, let's just take a breath here. Here we go. Y'all might as well do that right now anyway. Then ask her, what does she like about what she's wearing today? Again, you're going to get a lot of, I don't know, I don't like anything. And if that's how she's behaving, then you need to take a breath, back up the truck, and later on when she's lucid, say, hey, when you were having this conversation, what would have been more helpful to you? I kind of feel like I'm on repeat here, but that's just the way this goes. As you know, if you're a longtime listener, 87 different ideas. If after you change the way you communicate with her about this, You're going to have to really be conscious about this. How are you going to use fewer words? What are you going to say? How are you going to be curious? What kinds of curiosity questions are you going to ask about this? If she's not gotten better, air quotes, within a month of some concentrated effort from you, she probably should see a therapist just to make sure there's nothing else going on. Oh, but wait, there's more. You might check in with her about if she's being bullied, what the other kids are saying to her. When you ask that question, you need to be like you're talking about the weather. Hey, I was just curious, are kids getting bullied for how they look? Like, what are kids saying about how other kids look? See that? Global, much easier thing for kids to talk about. Then you can lean into anybody said anything to you. Then you're going to have some data. There is nothing like being bullied to make you have super low self-esteem. Am I right? You know I'm right. That was Vulva Central and Girl Central. Thank you, all you writer-inners, for your questions. I much prefer that you call them in because I think it's boring to hear me read everything, but it's better than nothing. I have a chunk of questions because I did something special for my newsletter subscribers. If you go to birdsandbeesandkids.com, and sign up for my newsletter, and I offered free quickies for people to call in. So they called in. I have questions. They get free quickies. I will probably run that little promo again. I think that's it for me. Have a super day. Call me if you have questions or comments. Remember to be kind. That's it for this week. Thanks to everyone who's been calling in. The number's 206-926-1522, so please leave me a message if you have a question or a tale from the trenches. And thank you to Melanie Smith, my producer, and to Rolf, who wrote the Birds and Bees and Kids theme song.